thing that has kept me from being consistent on YouTube is the editing process. It's time consuming, it requires a lot of focus, and I just kept procrastinating and therefore never uploaded. Recently though, I created a new step-by-step guide which really shortens that process and honestly makes it kind of fun. In this video, I'll be showing you exactly how I edit my YouTube videos with my phone by bringing you along with me while I edit one of my videos which is actually already uploaded. I will link it up here. It's Leanne, and when it comes to editing on your phone, trust me, I've been through hundreds of editing apps, tutorials, trial and errors, and I think the way I edit now is the best and most efficient way for anyone editing on a mobile device. So step 1 is choosing an editing app. I used to use iMovie, I started off with it, and it's a great free app for first-time editors, especially since it's super easy to use and it has all of the necessary features for beginner YouTubers. I did do a quick tutorial in my previous video, which I linked up here a little earlier, and I will link it down below so you can go check that out if you are interested in using iMovie. But recently I switched over to Lumafusion, and it is the most popular editing app on the iStore. It's like the mobile version of Final Cut Pro, and if you really want to step up your editing game and have really professional looking videos, I really recommend downloading it. It's not free though, but it is a once-off purchase which is perfect, and it's so cheap. Get this, it's only $20. So as a South African, I had to pay 300 Rand, which is such a bargain, and you'll see that in today's video. If you are an Android user, I recommend using Adobe Premiere Clip. It's free, and I think it's the mobile version of Adobe Premiere, and I don't know if it's Adobe or Adobe Premiere, so don't come at me. So once you've found an editing app that has all of the features you're looking for and it doesn't leave a watermark, it's time for step 2, which is rough editing. So you want to create a new project and insert all of the A-roll footage. For those of you who don't know what's the difference between A-roll and B-roll, A-roll is all of the main footage which gets added into the main track, and then B-roll is all of the supplemental footage like screen recordings or PNGs, and that gets added into your overlay tracks. So as I said, go into Lumafusion and create a new project. You then want to make sure that you name the project after the exact title of the video, as this is also going to be saved as the file name. Then for the frame rate, this really depends on the type of video you're editing, but for me, I always leave it on 60 and make sure that the ratio of the video is landscape mode. Then this is just a personal preference, but I color code all of my projects, so main channel videos are color coded turquoise. Using the File Explorer in the top left corner, you then want to locate all of your A-roll footage and insert that. So once you've added all of your A-roll, you will see that the duration of the video is really long, and ultimately we just want a 10-minute video. So that is why I call this rough editing. We're going to go from the beginning, work through all of the footage through to the very end, and shorten that timeline. That is why we do it first, because when we do the following steps, we don't want to work through all of that unnecessary footage. We want to cut that out now. So just like I film in sections, I also edit in sections. And if you look at my timeline, you can see exactly where each clip starts and stops. So we are going to tackle this 25-minute timeline clip for clip, starting at the very beginning. And the first thing I do when I reach a new clip is I add some color effects, and I usually have some pre-saved ones, and then I play around with it, and then I change the audio ducking to master. Basically what this does is it sets this to the main audio track, so if I would add other audio tracks, it wouldn't be too loud and I would still be able to hear the sound from this one. Zoom out and go to the very end of that clip. If you focus on the sound waves, it is so easy to spot the pieces that you need to cut out, because you can see exactly where you stuttered, where you repeated yourself, or where you didn't speak at all. This speeds up the editing process so much, and starting with the end of the clip is best because your last attempt is usually the successful one. So for instance, if I wasn't happy with the way I said something, I will pause and then I would repeat myself. And if you edit the clip from the beginning, you're going to have to work through all of that trial and error, and that takes up so much time. So this is a big time saver. Repeat this until you reach the very beginning of that clip, and then you want to re-watch through it again just to make sure that all of the scraps are deleted. While you're doing that, you want to add bookmarks. So this is going to make sense in the next step, so just bear with me. As you can see, there's lots of different colored bookmarks, and each color means something different that will guide me while I'm editing. So the red is for audio like voiceovers or sound effects. The orange is for B-roll that needs to be added into the main track. So it's not actually B-roll, it's B-roll / A-roll. The yellow is for subsections in main sections. The green is for any graphics like text or shapes. And the blue / turquoise is for my main sections like step 1, step 2, and then the purple is for my B-roll. So basically you want to add the bookmarks exactly where one of those things has to be inserted into the video later on. And then you just want to repeat this until the very end of the timeline, and then it's time for the next step. Once you reach the end of the timeline, you should now more or less have the duration of the final video. Now it's time for step 3, which is removing the markers. So go back to your very first marker and insert the B-roll associated with that marker. Once you've done that, remove the marker and keep doing that until all of the markers are removed. To speed things up a bit, I'll only be showing you one example of each colored label, and the very first one is a green one. So once you click on it, it will take you exactly to where you place that label, and then I remove it immediately and insert the associated effect. Because it's green, I know that it has to be some type of graphic, and looking at the footage, I can see that it has to be a step-by-step text/title that I have to insert, so that is an example of the green label. The next label is a purple one, so that means I have to insert some type of B-roll, and for this one it's actually my logo. As you can see, it's a green screen, so this is a really cool feature Lumafusion has. It's called chroma key, and it gives you the ability to work with moving graphics or green screens with backgrounds and stuff like that, so that's also really cool. As I said, the turquoise label is for my main sections, so this is always just a title that comes in with a transition and exits with one. It has a blurry background, and it usually just says something like step 1 with a short description/summary of what this step is going to be about. So the yellow marker is for subsections. If there's a step that's too long, I like to break it up into different parts just so that it's easier to follow. I do this in the filming process, and then when I edit the video, I just split each part and then I label it just like I label the main sections, but this time I don't blur the background. The red and the orange label usually goes together, but not always, because I usually want to add a voiceover with my A-roll/B-roll. So as I said, the red label is for any audio, and in this case it was a voiceover, and then the orange label is for my B-roll that needs to be added into the main track. If you don't understand what I meant by this earlier, just look at the screen, and as you can see, I wanted to insert a screen recording of me doing a quick tutorial on iMovie, but I didn't want the main track footage to be the audio for it. I wanted to insert a voiceover, and that is why I call it A-roll/B-roll. Another thing that I need to mention about this, and I didn't know this at the time, but you want to leave the red and orange markers for last. The reason for this is that if you insert more footage into the main track and you change the duration, the place of the other markers is going to move around, so all of the other markers are going to be out of place. So do them first, and then at the end come back and do the orange and red markers separately. So what do you think about Lumafusion so far? Let me know down below, and also let me know what you used to edit with, or what would you recommend. Step 4 is adding the audio. I used to add background music, but I found that it's too distracting, and if you make it softer, it's not noticeable. Lumafusion does have the audio ducking feature, which I explained earlier, and it makes it super easy to add background music because you don't have to adjust the volume layers every single time you're talking. If you're wondering where I get my non-copyright music from, I follow some channels on YouTube which I will link down below, and then I simply take a screen recording of the video and add the file into my project. In this step, you also want to make sure that all of the audio levels are not too soft or not too loud. Now that all of the footage and files are inserted into the video, sorted on the right place, it's time for step 5, which is finishing touches. Work through your timeline one last time and make adjustments like zoom ins, jump cuts, double check everything, and lastly add your branding. For this step, I like starting with the branding, and this is going to differ for everyone because this is going to be the thing that makes this video yours. If somebody sees these features, they are going to know that it is Leanne Smith's video, and a few examples are 1, my logo at the beginning of the video, my end screen at the end, my icon at the bottom left corner, and then what I also have to add now is my socials in the top left corner, which will be displayed throughout the entire video. So this is going to be personal preferences. You can do whatever you like. That is just what I like to do. Once I've done that, I go back to the beginning of the timeline, and then it's time to work through the entire video again. The reason I do this is because while rough editing, I wasn't really precise. It was zoomed out, so there's still going to be a few parts that's kind of like glitchy and not cropped precisely. So I'm really going to smooth things out in this step and also spice things up, and here are a few examples of how I do that. The first thing that you can do to take average footage and just make it a little bit more interesting is using zoom-ins. So Lumafusion makes this really easy with a feature they call keyframes. It is a more advanced feature and it might be a little bit confusing at the beginning, but once you grasp it and you understand how it works, the possibilities are endless. Guys, this feature is so amazing and that is why I love this app so much. So for zoom-ins, what you want to do is you want to trim the clip that you want a zoom-in to be inserted, and then you want to add a keyframe at the beginning and the end of the clip. In the first one, it's going to be the zoomed out version, and then in the second keyframe, you just want to increase the size, and then if you go out and play it, you will see that it is going to zoom in as you watch the clip. This is obviously one of the basic things you can do with keyframes, and there is so many other things that you can do so much more advanced, and I'm not going to jump into that in this video just because this is just like a basic editing tutorial. So if you want a more in-depth one, I can definitely do a tutorial on keyframes. Let me know down below. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to give you guys a quick explanation of what it is and how it works. So basically, keyframes are start points and end points that you set in the clip, and you can change the features of each one of those, and then the duration between these 2 points are going to tell you how fast it's going to transition evenly from the features you set in the first tag to the features you set in the second tag. So once I finished the zoom in, I continued watching, and as you can see, once I reached this logo, I noticed that it was out of sync and it wasn't aligned with the video, and that is why this step is so important, because we don't notice these things in the rough editing because it's not important. The rough editing is just to get all of that unnecessary footage out, and this is really to smoothen it down and really make it precise. The second alternative to zoom-ins are jump cuts, and the difference between these two are zoom-ins are even transitions from the zoomed out version to the zoomed in version, whereas jump cuts are immediate changes in the size of the clip. You can do this by clipping out the part where you want the jump cut to be, and then just increase the size of that entire clip without adding keyframes. Then as you rewatch it, you will see that it is an immediate change and it's not an even transition. There are literally so many other things that you can do to spice up the video, but these are the 2 main ones that most YouTubers use, and I use it a lot in my videos. So as I go from the beginning to the end of the timeline, I look for places where I can insert either a jump cut or a zoom in just to make it a little bit more interesting, and it really helps the viewers to stay focused into the video. We're not done just yet. Step 6 is to rewatch the video. So I find that rewatching the video in my actual gallery helps me notice all of the mistakes. So I export the video and then I watch it through, and if I see something that I want to change, I go back into Lumafusion. You should pay attention to all of the visual and audio effects, but also where you are losing focus. If you can't watch through your own video, no one else will, so it's not done. Make adjustments until you feel like you're happy with the final result. There are a lot of features that I didn't show, so if you are interested in a more in-depth tutorial on Lumafusion, let me know, and don't forget to also comment what editing apps you use. If you found this video helpful, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload, because in my next video, you don't want to miss it. I'll be telling you exactly how to overcome the fear of starting a YouTube channel. Till next time.
Hold up. Hold up.